Yeah, and one of the reasons we decided to not do a ladder mode was because we didn't consider the level up process to be the primary way that you show progress in Diablo 3. In Diablo 2, you could level up to level 99. The only point to really doing it was to show to other people that you've leveled to 99, and that you could possibly do it faster than somebody else. For us, we were much more focused on creating an in-game that had a lot more challenge to it, and that focused on the acquisition of items. Because as soon as the acquisition of items goes away, most people lose interest. So the ladder mode really catered to a smaller group of players than what we're trying to cater to. The way we handle the auction house in every region, including North America to Australia, is you can choose ahead of time what currency you want to operate within. So you could be in, if you wanted to be in US dollars, you could operate in US dollars, but then you'll only be able to do things within the US dollar and within that currency. Now, if you are using, if you are going back and forth between multiple currencies, we really make it up to the user to be responsible about if they are making profits in some kind of ways that are either illegal or require them to report taxes within their region. That's their responsibility. So the structure of the infrastructure that supports Diablo is very similar to that you'd see in an MMO. We have a host of servers, and the players are essentially the clients, just like in an MMO. You know, one of the things that I know is a big concern for players, especially players in Australia, is latency. With an online game and a game that's fast-paced, you want, latency can be a big concern. So we've always focused on the development of Diablo to be a very latency-forgiving game, a game that doesn't need a ton of bandwidth to be played successfully and does a good job of latency, something called latency hiding, which just kind of hides any kind of and smooths over any kind of jumps or hitches due to latency issues. The great news is that when we had our open beta recently, Australian players were able to participate in it, and we got wonderful reports back. They said that the game performed really, really well, and that they didn't experience a lot of performance issues. So the status on player versus player for us is that we've always intended it to be in the game, and we absolutely will be adding it, but it will not be in its ship. And the reason for that is that we're focused on that mode being as high quality as we can make it. It was also not something we felt was essential to the series or core to the series, so we didn't feel it was worth delaying the release of the game specifically for the PvP mode. So we thought it was okay to go ahead and put the game out so everybody could play it, and then we could focus for hopefully a very short period of time, just a few months, and we can have the PvP out. So voice chat is something that as a cooperative game is a really important feature. It's something we would like to put in Diablo at some point, but what we want to make sure is when we do, we want it to be really high quality. So again, like a lot of the reasons we choose not to do something, it's because at the time that we're talking about it, we just don't think we can make it to the quality level that we think we should. Down the road, if we can get voice chat in, and that's not a promise, but if hopefully we can at some point, then people will just remember that the game was really good, and that's what we care most about. So very early in the process, we had some people who argued that we should not make the game isometric, that it would be better technology, it would be more modern if we made a third or a first-person game, and I really would have nothing of it. For me, a camera is not a technology choice, and there's more than enough first and third-person games out there. Camera has such a huge impact on gameplay that I consider it a gameplay choice. The reason why we are online only is for a couple of reasons. The primary one being the player's experience. We see Diablo as an inherently multiplayer game. And there are a lot of issues with Diablo 2 where players would play offline and then never realize the game had an online component, which felt wrong to us. Or once they realized, they would not be able to take that character online because offline characters can be hacked. And the second issue is security. And that gets right into like, is there a technical reason why we don't have, and we wouldn't just allow this? And one of the big reasons is if you take a servant client structure, because our games are server or have a server client architecture. If you take that and you allow offline play, you have to put the server architecture into the build that you give to players. So once you have that server architecture, it's way easier to hack it. It's way easier to it's where a lot of the problems with item duping, which was a huge issue for Diablo 2, is probably the number one complaint people had about Diablo 2 was the security issues. So being able to go online only makes it a lot easier for us to deal with security issues. But the most important thing is we feel very strongly that Diablo is a online game. It's a cooperative game. So you can play it single player, just like you can play World of Warcraft single player. But at the end of the day, we see it as a cooperative game. And so we think that's the best experience players can have.